Another episode of Pokemon Knowledge. As you can tell by the title of this video, it's just that. I, I guess I was wrong about Shining Treasure. So, originally when I made my initial video, I thought Shining Treasures was just not going to be able to live up to be a great set. And the reason why I did that was because I was just looking at some of the Pokemon that were currently like in Scarlet and Violet. I was like, there's just no way Pokemon's going to go back and do a lot of like the fan favorite Pokemons, and I thought it would be an overall weak set. And I thought the fact that they're just recycling the same used type of set. You've already seen it in Hidden Fates with like all the baby Shinins. Super popular set, don't get me wrong. Like it's a formula that definitely works. That Hidden Fates, style set. And then Shining Fates, right at release, Shining Fates had some of the craziest hype. Like, don't sit there and fool yourself. Yes, Shining Fates might be overly abundant today at the time of recording this video, but at the time of release, Shining Fates was a crazy set. You saw ETB selling for over $120, and Hidden Fates had a Chase Charizard. Shining Fates had a Chase Charizard. And going back before Shining Fates, even like Champion's Path had a Chase Charizard. And then I was like, okay, this new set, there's no way there's another Chase Charizard. Now, people are going to hear this video and could be like, oh, it's just another, like, investor, like, oh, everything goes to the moon, rocket ship emoji type things. I'm, like, in a way, like, a little sad. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I was hoping that they would, like, go away from this formula a little bit. And I look at the two chases we've seen right now, and don't get me wrong, this Charizard compared to the other Charizards we've seen as of recently, when you talk about Obsidian Flames or you see some of like the new Chase ones, especially because we saw like pretty much the same thing in that Charizard EX box. I wasn't a huge fan of those Charizards by any stretch of the imaginations. I just didn't really care for them too much. Now, I saw this new Charizard. It does look nice. You know why? Because it's a Shining Charizard. The same way as you like a Shining Charizard from like Neo Destiny with that like the black Charizard, the actual definition of a shining Charizard. Like this Charizard has what's needed. It's got that beautiful color scheme. I think it's going to be a card a lot of people are going to want. Listen, I'm not a Charizard collector. I don't collect Charizards. I sell Charizards. I don't collect Charizards. I'm not a. I am a fan of Charizard. No, I think everybody's kind of a fan, but I'm not a collector of them. I don't I don't care to have them, but there's a lot of people out there that do. There's the reason why Charizards carry so many sets, and I've already said this in the past. It's harder to go back in time and find a set that has a Charizard in it where that Charizard is not the chase, opposed to finding a set that has a Charizard where it's not the chase. So it just goes back to they're gonna like carry sets, and then the sad thing too is I'm looking at some of the most recent like big Pokemon. Like what would I want to be in a set? Because I think that's a question people ask, and then I look at like what are some of the big Pokemon like that carry sets, and a lot of them has come out recently. The sad thing is Charizard just keeps getting recycled. We saw Charizard as recently as having its own highlighted product with that Charizard UPC, and then the other card we saw a leak for with Shining Treasures is that Mew. We just saw a Mew EX like in the 151 premium collection. So we just had a Charizard premium collection. Now we get another Chase Charizard. We just saw a Mew premium collection. We get another Mew. That Mew artwork again, it's a shining Mew. Just like Shining Mew has that like blue body type to it. It's a beautiful card. A lot of people love it. This is another shining Mew. It's a great card. People are going to want it. It's a card I think a lot of people have been waiting for now for a super long time. I saw that card. I fell in love with it. Like I said, I love it, but the problem is it's just more 151 recycled Pokemon over and over again. And then I was thinking like, well, what are other big Pokemon? And like try to go out of Gen 1 if you can. And it's this problem is you just go to Gen 2 and it's like, well, was there a Lugia recently? And it was like, well, yeah. Recently, we had a Lugia Altart and Silver Tempest, and Lugia did help to carry that set a little bit. And then I'm thinking, like, okay, well, what about, like, Palkia, Dialga, Garantina, Arceus? Well, we just saw all those in Crown Zenith. So it's like, okay, we just saw all those. And then it's like, well, what about, like, Gen 3? What's, like, a big Gen 3 Pokemon? And then you go, well, Rayquaza. Well, you just got to Alt-Art Rayquaza and Evolving Skies. And then same thing with Evolving Skies. It's like, well, what about Evolutions? Well, again, same set. Even though it gave you an Alt-Art Rayquaza, it also gave you all those Evolutions. And like, these are the Pokemon that carry the sets. And for this set, I was wrong. I didn't think Pokemon would just recycle the big fan favorites again. And I've always said, like, I think eventually, given enough time, Charizard fatigue is a real thing. And I did believe that eventually, and I still kind of believe it, that Charizard fatigue will eventually settle in. I guess the truth of the matter is, and the reality is, that may never happen. You know, what is the most recent set, like, besides Paradox Rift? It's 151. What is the chase in 151? Well, the chase is a Charizard. I want it to not be a Charizard, but it's going to be a Charizard. That's the chase. That's the most expensive card in the set. That is the card that, as long as there's a crazy Charizard, it will be the chase. And it's the same thing going in the Shining Treasures now. That we saw this Shining Charizard EX. It's going to carry the set. Beautiful artwork. That Mew is probably going to carry it's going to help carry that set. And the problem is we've only now seen 2 cards, but those 2 cards alone, and especially if they do this now and they go back and they start to recreate like some of the big fan favorite Pokemons and they give them like decent shinings, they're going to carry them. And, you know, we've seen Shining Pokemon before, like with your Hidden Fates, with Shining Fates. The problem is they weren't Alt-Arts. Like, that's going to be the difference now. Because now, with that Mew from Shining Treasures, it's an Alt-Art Mew. And shout out to Dan Ketchum Collectibles. It's one of my absolute favorite quotes in the entire hobby. And probably a quote that I will quote from now until forever. And it's so elegantly put. Don't underestimate artists' ability to art. And in this hobby, when you give artists just that, the ability to art, and I think Alt-Arts really do give the artists like free range. It allows them to use their imagination and do something really special with these cards. So the fact that we're getting our first Shining set, but with Alt-Arts and Shinings as Alt-Arts, my opinions have changed. And to be honest with you, it's wild in this hobby how quickly your opinion can change on a product. I mean, it was probably less than a week ago I made a video talking about how I thought Shining Treasures was going to be a stinker set. Here we go. We only fast forward a couple days, and I already think Shining Treasure is going to be a monster set. This is just the world we live in. This is the problem with making content, like with sometimes very little information. And even today's video, I'm making a video talking about a set that a week ago I thought was going to be a stinker. Here we go today. I think it's going to be a great set. Again, with very little information. We're running into a weird timeline too, where we're seeing leaks of these cards before Japanese. Like, that is wild. And it seems like these cards, I don't even know if these cards are really like getting stolen out of the factory. Like, I don't know if that's actually been confirmed at all. I have a feeling that maybe it's just the pictures are leaking from the printing facilities. I don't know if people are actually like pocketing these cards and carrying them out of the print facility and then they're trying to sell them on the secondary market. I think it's just a matter of somebody is working on the print line. They took out their phone, they took a photo of a pile of them, sent it to their friends, and then the internet does what the internet does and goes crazy with stuff. Maybe I'm wrong. Like, listen, it won't be the first time that cards get stolen from Pokemon. It won't be the last. But just the fact that how early these cards are being seen too. And I know Pokemon like prints product pretty far ahead of time. But so if this is a set that's going to be released in January, here we are at the beginning of November. That means Pokemon is probably going to be ramping their printers up pretty solid on this set for the next 2 months leading into January. 2 months of full Pokemon printer allocation numbers. I don't even know what that can be. Again, speculation, right? There's probably going to be a lot of this product that's going to exist, you know, through all the different like avenues that Pokemon does and everything. And I don't know. And I think there's a lot of questions of like, why would Pokemon make a set like this? Like, one, Pokemon never takes their foot off the gas. And if you think about it, it is Pokemon as a business. It's their responsibility and their job to continue to make sets that people want. And I think that's true. I think they're there's no way that they're not aware of what's going on with like this early Scarlet and Violet block, because I'm sure Pokemon talks directly to all their distributors, and when they talk to the distributors, they say, well, what do you need from us? And if the distributor is saying, well, I'm not able to move a lot of this product. I'm not moving Scarlet and Violet Base. I'm not moving Paldea Evolved. I'm not really moving Obsidian Flames and Paradox Rift. While it's moving because it's the newest set, it's not moving great. And then they say, well, what is moving? They say, well, 151. We can move all our 151 product. There's still a ton of demand for that. Pokemon's just going to go back and they're going to look at the drawing board and say, well, what has 151 got going for it? And old Timmy in the back of the room, he's going to raise his hand. Well, it's got a Charizard. It's got a Mew. People like Charizard and Mew, and they're going to just keep doing it. And then there's somebody else. There's the other Timmy. There's two Timmys in the room. They got Timmy 1 who raises his hand, says Charizard and Mew sell sets. And then you got the other Timmy that says, well, what happens when people stop buying these sets because there's Charizard and Timmy, or because there's Charizard and Mew in this set? And it's just like that meme. They just take that second Timmy and they throw him right out the window. And they just say, fly, Timmy, fly away like a Pidgey. Bye. And if you look, shout out to Pidgey, ironically, we've seen some other leaks happen. So we saw like the Charmander character rare card. It came in the Obsidian Flames ETB. But now we have like a Squirtle card. And we have a Bulbasaur card. If you notice, all those cards have like one common, like, I don't know, artwork theme around it. In the Charmander one, he's looking out the window, he's looking at the Pidgey, and he wants to like go after the Pidgey. And then you have the Squirtle, he's just like sitting in the little kiddie swimming pool, and there's a bunch of Pidgeys around it. And then the same thing with the Bulbasaur, you got a bunch of Pidgeys around it. So those will probably be in that set. So now you're talking Shining, and these are all Gen 1 Pokemon. These are all cards that we just saw happen in 151. Like, in 151, they got a Charmander. He was the Charmander at the bottom of the valley looking up. It got a Squirtle. It got a Bulbasaur. And now here we are, just one set in between, and then the next specialty set. Literally like two specialty sets in a row. 151, and now potentially Shining Treasures are going to have these character rare cards again. Same Pokemon, same 151. It's just like, okay, like, can we have at least one original thought? Please. But then the question is, and people will ask this in the chat, they'll be like, well, what do you want? And to be honest with you, like, I don't even really know what I want at this point. I was trying to brainstorm stuff before this live one. I was like, what would I want? What would I want? I don't know. It's just that. I was thinking, like, maybe I want, like, an Elite Four set. All the different trainers from all the different Elite Fours throughout the history of this hobby. Or maybe I just want, like, I mean, we've had gym sets in the past, you know, your Gym Heroes, Gym Challenge. Obviously, you're going back in time. The artwork's not the same. The chases aren't the same. The quote-unquote, like, entire makeup the set isn't the same. But then I was like, well, what if you had just, like, a gym leader focus set, and then it was a gym leader with, like, their go-to Pokemon? What if you actually had, like, an Ash and Pikachu in a card, on a card? It wasn't just red with Pikachu, because we've seen enough of those cards. You could go, and there's beautiful ones. I got them behind me, too. Mishihiro Riga did that Pikachu artwork from Cosmic Eclipse. My favorite modern card in the hobby. I got two of them signed by the artist. Love that card. But what if you had just an Ash and Pikachu? What if maybe they just did a trainer set and all the different trainers? But the problem is we still get those cards. We're getting trainer subset cards. They're just within sets, and maybe they're not their own standalone sets. So even that sort of like thought process that I was going to is like, oh, let's get a gym, like a gym leader focus set or an Elite Four focus set. It's like, well, you get all those already. They're sprinkled throughout every set, and it doesn't matter who your favorite gym leader is. You probably got one of their character rare cards in the last 2-3 years. Pretty much they've hit most of the trainers, if not all. I shouldn't say all of them, but they've hit a lot of them, and a lot of the Pokemon that they did choose for them are like solid. You know, I think even like talking about Cosmic Eclipse, I love Mimikyu, so Mimikyu always comes to my mind. But like, you got one of my favorite gym leaders, which is Acerola, with her Mimikyu, and you got that in Cosmic Eclipse. And then not only did you get Acerola with Mimikyu and Cosmic Eclipse, They also gave you an Acerola with Mimikyu, which is one of my favorite modern artworks in Brilliant Stars, the one where Mimikyu's watching the TV. Acerola comes into the room, she's standing in the back, and you can see like the shadow of the TV and the Mimikyu. Like they give us that all the time, so it's tough. I can see where that problem lies, but the fact that they just keep going back and they keep recycling the same 151, it's rough. The question is the market strong enough right now to handle this? Is the market strong enough to keep handling this? I think the answer is just an astounding yes right now. I think if Pokemon puts out good sets, people will be drooling at the mouth to open it. That's just the facts right now. Will we run into a period of time in the future where there's like a stagnation period and people don't want this? Maybe. We're far from it. I just think like as long as Pokemon keeps doing what they do best, and it's just being that freight train rolling down the tracks, like people are going to keep FOMOing into all this stuff. People are going to keep buying it. And it's wild to think of how quickly your thoughts on a set can change. I just told you, like, I made a video a week ago talking about why I thought Shining Treasures was going to be a lackluster set, and here we go a week later, I'm thinking it's going to be a phenomenal set. And then luckily we're not there yet, so people aren't having the conversation, which is, it's the same conversation we will have for every set. And remember, the next set is always the best set Pokemon has ever made. People will eventually start having the conversation, is Shining Treasures the best set? And then once Shining Treasures is released, and then the next set. The next set is always the best set Pokemon has ever made. And it's always a meme. Always. Always a meme. But there's truth behind it. Is Evolving Skies the best set Pokemon ever made? Is Brilliant Stars reintroducing character rares the best set Pokemon ever made? Is Crown Zenith the best set Pokemon ever made? Is 151 the best set Pokemon ever made? It's just, you get all these new products, people keep having the same conversations over and over again, and always be, is this the next best set? And, we've only seen 2 of these Shining full art alt-art cards. We've seen the Charizard now, we've seen the Mew. Is this it? Are these the 2 best cards? Are they the 2 chases of the set? Is everything else going to be lackluster? Don't know. I mean, I know we saw a Shining Green Ninja from Hidden Fates, but, that, when you think about Hidden Fates and you think about that full art Shining Greninja, like Greninja, huge fan favorite Pokemon. One of Ash's absolute strongest Pokemon, so if you love the anime, especially, like, this shows you how I'm a fake fan. I can't even think of, like, the bond that they have where, like, Greninja becomes super powerful and they, like, more or less link minds or whatever. But what if you had, like, now a fan favorite Pokemon like Greninja? Well, what if you finally gave him an Alt-Art? Because Green Ninja hasn't got an Alt-Art. That is one of, like, the big fan favorite Pokemon that is missing that awesome Alt-Art. Well, what if you give Greninja a Alt-Art Shining, like, character rare card, and it's assuming the artwork's phenomenal, if it's in that set like that, I mean, it could be wild. And what's to say we don't see it in that set? There's a lot of Pokemon sort of like that are right on the cusp of being able to be strong enough to potentially carry sets or be able to, be the number 1 chase card. But if you throw that into, like, a Charizard set, the same way as Greninja gets overshadowed by Charizard, like, when you look at all the full art Shinins in Hidden Fates, obviously that Charizard's going to surpass it because that Charizard is the chase. And then, sadly, like, the Greninja maybe gets looked over a little bit. But if you give that Greninja its beautiful artwork and then you throw it in a monster set with an Alt-Art Mew, with an Alt-Art Charizard, it could be wild. But that's just one example of one character that could help carry that set. If you do that with multiple Pokemon, we live in a wild time. I don't know what to tell you. Listen, I think that's just what it boils down to. It's just the hype is so strong in this hobby right now. It's wild, actually, when you think about it. And I mean, I think a lot of people pretend like the market's dying, but it's not dying. You see what's happening. You see all these big chases. You see all these big sets. I know a lot of, some people tell me I'm super bearish on the market. I tell everybody everything's crashing. And then I got other people out there on the same video writing, all PK does is talk about how the market is so strong right now and how everything is going crazy. So I got people on both ends of the spectrum, both people telling me I'm saying different things. I don't know I don't know who to believe of what people believe. Yeah, like I said, people think I think the world's crashing and burning. Other people say PK's way too positive. I don't know. I'm just telling you right now, like, sets recently have been hit or miss. And, we're seeing what's happening with Scarlet and Violet, some of these early sets, and some of these real low prices, low demand. And I've just always been like pretty vocal that I just think that these are kind of lackluster sets. I think Obsidian Flames does like hurt that narrative a little bit, but then I said that I thought Obsidian Flames was just that Charizard fatigue, but then here we are with 151. Charizard's big again, and then I'm looking at this new set, Shining Treasures, with those leaked Charizards, assuming these Charizards are real. There's really nothing about those cards that really scream being faked or fan-made to me. They look real. They look like the cards that are going to be in the set, like in my personal opinion. If they are fan-made, if this is like some big hoax and somebody's just getting the biggest one-over on all of us and it's the biggest FU, biggest I gotcha, well, kudos to them, congratulations to them, but right now I'm on the sideline of these are real cards. So, and then I just told you, like, with the 151, and then again, with this, Charizard, it's hard. It's tough when you look at these sets, and, I do my best to try to, like, get my finger on the pulse and, like, understand like what people are feeling in the current market and like what current market sentiment is. And usually I could tell pretty early on. It's been tough as of recently, It's like, well, why do people like stuff and why don't people like stuff right now? And are people going to continue to like certain things? And the problem is sometimes a lot of people don't like the history of this hobby. They don't want to compare to vintage stuff. Everybody just wants to look at modern stuff in the future. Modern's the best. Vintage is weak. Fuck the history of this hobby. Let's just look at modern day. Everything else is meaningless. But I like to look at the history of everything and see how other sets were designed, how other stuff played out, and if I could learn anything from history from other sets, like maybe I'll be able to see how these new sets will be able to like play out in the future. But there's no fate but what we make for ourselves. The future is not written, so it's all speculation at this point. All right. So, I'm going to go hop into the chat real quick. Just read a couple comments and then try to make this early live. If I could get this video to under 30 minutes, that would be phenomenal. I'm at 23 minutes right now, so let's see if that's possible. Candyman, appreciate you being the number one. We got Pokey Snipes, Pokey Hoarder, Christopher, Unrivaled Jake, McNick. Let's see. I'm going to go look for questions. Namp90. I shared a photo with Namp90 earlier. So if you guys follow Gemmint Pokemon on Instagram, Gemmint Pokemon posted two pretty cool cards. So one was the Hypno from Aquapolis, the one where like Hypno's sitting on the roof eating the dreams. And then there was another Hypno that he also like showed. Both of those artworks done by Mishihiro Arita. And it gave like an alternate potential like viewpoint of that Hypno. And then Namp90 is just so on top of stuff. He was able to show me like 10 or 15 other cards where while it's not potentially a different angle or like a reimagining of that artwork, it could just be like a similar motif of that artwork. So, but Namp is always good. He's always on top of stuff. See Professor Oak in the chat. Good to see you. Fresh Tat says, PK closet Zard collector. No, I have a lot of Charizard sitting in the closet, but I don't consider myself a Charizard closet collector. Unrivaled Jake said he would like to see a Cyndaquil. Yeah, Cyndaquil would be a good one. Yeah, Danny Dennis says the new Charizard still has that stupid crown on it. A lot of people hate the crown. I'm not a fan of the crown either, but I don't play the most recent games too, so maybe if I played the most recent games, like, I would appreciate the crown a little bit more. So Namp90 said the leaked Shining Zard to me is very similar to the Obsidian Flames SIR, and both are by the same illustrator, which, yeah. But it's just the difference is that color tone. It's the actual Shining Charizard, so it does hit a little bit differently. Cheval says, Charizard fatigue is a real thing. It's Pinsir's time to shine. Yes. Leaf Green Goblin said, can we get a damn Shining Dragonite card? Come on, it's due. That would be a good one. See, Dragonite artworks, for me, are so hit or miss. Like, I know how Dragonite is portrayed in the TV shows, how he's kind of portrayed in the anime. Like, Dragonite has this ability to be, in a way, like, very, like, kid friendly. Like, you kind of think of, like, the Dragonite with the mail sack, like, the mailman Dragonite, right? And it doesn't always hit. It looks like very cartoonish, very childish. Like, one of the biggest Dragonite cards that always comes to my head is like the Black Star promo, like the Dragonite movie promo. Very child friendly, more or less can be like a flying Barney, the purple dinosaur, except it's not a purple dinosaur, it's a brown Dragonite. But with that said, Dragonite also has some pretty like badass cards. Some cards that do hit a little harder. And so Dragonite has two abilities. It has the ability where artists can go like the very child friendly, very cartoonish character artwork for Dragonite, or it also has the ability to make Dragonite look like a badass Pokemon, because in reality, he is a badass Pokemon. He is still one of the strongest of all the Pokemon. So I would hope that the Pokemon could start to lean toward a little bit more of that, like, I there's nothing really edgy in Pokemon, but I will go that far as to say maybe a little bit more on the edgier side. And an example of a card that I think is a little bit more edgier is like, perfect example would be like the VMAX Charizard from the Charizard UPCs, and then also in Crown Zenith we had the other perspective of the artwork with the Mewtwo looking at the Charizard. Like, that is a much more like badass type feel artwork, and if they did that with a Dragonite, I think it would hit pretty hard. So yeah, I would love to see a shining Dragonite, especially in that type of situation. uh let's see. So Big Boba said technically there's not alt arts anymore, they are AR and SIR. It says on the slabs, but when we say alt art, it means something. Hype dogs say it. Okay, well, sure. Throw hype dog on anything and it sounds negative. Uh, I mean, I even look at like alt art cards from like the End of the Sun and Moon block too, and I still call a lot of those cards alt art cards. And one of my favorite ones is the Blastoise and Pliplup from Cosmic Eclipse. Like, I consider that an alt art card. There's a couple cards that I still consider alt arts that it's just, tomato, tomato, I guess. Uh, So Leaf Green Goblin said, no more shinings of Pokemons whose shinies are almost identical to the original. Ooh, I like that. So you're saying Pokemon can't kind of go back and like reproduce stuff. They got to do it all original. That would be nice. Namp90 says, this is similar to last year's Crown Zenith leak in October and came in January. At least this time it's leak in November that lasted one more month. I guess there's a silver lining to everything. So at least instead of October, we made it to November. Namp, you are correct. Namp90 said Pidgey is also on the Pikachu AR, Machoke AR, and the Snorlax AR. Okay. Let's see. Shug Nasty said collabs, collabs, collabs. Put Pikachu in every poncho you can think of. Yeah, well, that would sell sets. Uh, ooh. Son of a Merc said, forget tag team cards, give me a battle set. Ooh. With mid-battle artwork. So every single artwork is just Pokemon in the middle of like a heated battle. I like the thought of that. Yes. Cheval says, I'm worried about Drew. I haven't seen number one mod in the game. That's his 2 back-to-back lives in a row. Cheval, you got big shoes to fill right now with number one mod in the game not being here. Professor Oak said, he's here in spirit, Chevals. I can feel his warmth surrounding us. He's probably just busy with the family, yeah. Let's see. So Namp90 said there's a Green Ninja Hollow of him coming through Charizard Shadow. I love that card. I wonder which card you're talking about. Send it to me on Instagram. I'd be interested. Cheval said, question, when will my Vivid Voltage ETB case be more valuable? Thank you for your input in advance. Enjoying your content. Chevals, listen, you missed your opportunity. Your Vivid Voltage ETB case was worth a lot of money right before that reprint happened. And when that reprint happened, A lot of people knew, including people on this channel, that, Pokemon's reprinting Vivid Voltage ETBs, Pokemon's reprinting Darkness Ablaze ETBs, and anybody that had those ETBs, you had your chance. There was like a couple, it was actually like a long window where people knew the reprints were coming, but a lot of people were just still paying crazy premiums for those ETBs. So if you didn't dump all those ETBs in that 1 to 2 week window, sorry, Chevals, that's on you. It's going to be a long uphill battle for you from now until those ETBs are worth more money. Let's see. Cheval says Game Boy Dragonite, best Dragonite. That is up there with one of the better Dragonite artworks. So Hamburger 8, I love this name. His name is Hamburger, aka Ghost Train Conductor 1989. It says it's hard to imagine any of these new Shining sets come anywhere as close to capturing the magic of Hidden Fates. It was such a fresh new idea back in 2019. Now it's just reused too much. Yes, I could see what you're talking about. All right, that's a good point. It is. I think about the thing about Hidden Fates is Hidden Fates checked a lot of boxes. A lot of people were getting right back into Pokemon. Hidden Fates was that perfect set to bring people that were like re-entering into Pokemon back into it, because it had a lot of those fan favorite Pokemon. It had those original 151 Pokemon. It was very easy for a lot of people to hop right back into Hidden Fates. They didn't have to learn any of the new Pokemon. When you looked at what the chases were, it's like, I know all these cards. Hidden Fates had a lot of things going for it, and I think it was really that timeline, because it just was right before the crazy hype. So right before everything absolutely exploded. But not everyone came in with the pandemic. A lot of people came in right before. A lot of people came within that timeline, that 2018, 2019. Hidden Fates just checked all the right boxes. So it definitely helped like catapult that set. And, you know, like, that's why, again, it's a meme, but people like to bring Hidden Fates into the conversation as the best set Pokemon has ever made. But again, it's not the best set. The next set is always the best set Pokemon has ever made. But that's one of the reasons people talk about that. And a lot of people get very nostalgic, and they get strong ties to, like, whatever the sets were when they get back into the hobby. Whether you got back into the hobby, and everybody in the way sort of has the same backstory. It's just timelines are a little bit different. Everybody usually grew up with Pokemon as a kid, grew up out of it, went to high school, chased girls, failed at it, went to college, got jobs, till eventually some thing in their life changed where they rediscovered Pokemon. So whether your re-entry point is 2009, 2012, 2014, 2016 during Pokemon Go, 2019 with Hidden Fates, or right up to 2020 with the pandemic and the introduction of Sword and Shield and Vivid Voltage and all these later 2020 sets, you know, most people are always probably going to have some sort of weird attachment or weird ties to the sets that they came in with. And I just think that Hidden Fates also checks that box, that there was a lot of people got back in around that time. So Hidden Fates was definitely that set that got them, you know, re-emerged into this hobby. But yeah, guys, listen, as always, appreciate every single one of you guys. I know this wasn't a long live. How many people tuned in for this? You guys are absolutely awesome. And as always, I'll catch you on the next video.